Hi friends, welcome back to my garden, and if this is your first time joining us, thank you for stopping by. My name is Carol and my channel is called Just Keep Blooming. We are going to be taking an evening stroll and updating you on all the things that are growing and the projects that we've been doing. We've got the irrigation in, we've been cleaning out the pond, we did some mulching, and we've had some of the best weather in the past week. And I just can't wait to share it with you. So, let's go look at the garden. We are going to start today in the English garden. I can't wait to show you because we did a little bit of mulching, and you know how everything comes alive when you do a little bit of mulching. You can totally see where the hostas are finally coming up, and all these irises that you will see throughout the English garden are popping up. I am not sure what that pink flower is. I need to look it up, and I'll definitely put a tag of it up on there. But it is just looking so, I love it. And this is a kangaroo honeysuckle. Instead of the normal yellow honeysuckles, these have really dark leaves and this red stem, and it will have these orange and purple blossoms, and it smells so wonderful, and the hummingbirds love it. And I believe there is a cardinal couple that you can kind of tell that is starting to build a little bit of nest. So I'm going to move away from that and show you some of the other things going on. On the second half of the English garden, I was talking about the sedum and the knockout roses that are coming back. I'm going to tell you, I don't know what these knockout roses were made of, but they have been cut down several times. I was trying to get rid of them, and it looks like they've kind of perennialized and went back to their natural state, and now they are like climbing through there, and they are the most beautiful red roses. So I'm glad nature vetoed whatever decision I was making. You can see I've got more irises coming through here, and I did kind of change out how the clematises are going to grow. I think this year I'm training them. You can tell, like from last week, they're already so many that they're starting to kind of trellis up through here. I've got some Velcro strips that I'm going to put on there to kind of help them along their way. And I replaced it, and I did these two panels to be able to kind of give it this whole backdrop of it. It'll be beautiful. They're like these purple and white clematises. I don't know where I got them from. I think I bought them on sale, which is, par for the course. They're probably on some clearance rack. And then in front of the clematises, I have poppies coming up through there, and I have echinacea following. I usually have poppies come up a lot stronger. I don't know what I've done. They're just not coming up as strong as they used to, so I need to reseed that manually instead of hoping that the poppies kind of come up on their own. This here is becoming one of my favorite spaces to be in when I'm in the garden, when we're sitting on the English patio. You can see where all the lilies are coming up. I've got more irises. I've been splitting these irises. I picked up 2 irises when we first moved into our house, and probably every 2 or 3 years I've been splitting them. And now they're all over our garden. They're gonna bloom probably around Mother's Day. I've got some yellow irises that are gonna come up also, that I believe some of these are from an old neighbor. This right here is actually just a regular onion that was forgotten about in the onion basket. You know how that goes. And I planted it, and it just has such beautiful structure and beautiful color, and then it has the same allium kind of puff at the top. So when you're in here, you kind of get this onion and flower smell, and sometimes it's really intoxicating. And then I have lilies here. I've had a couple of friends, when they got married, they gave away lilies for their had them on their tables or bulbs. And this is what they were planted, where they were planted. And I got to be honest, like we have to separate some of them. So I've been pulling some of them out to give them a little bit more space and putting those in different spaces in the garden. So yeah, that's the English garden. Last week, we showed you where the irrigation was put in, and we also told you we went to the nursery and we also started putting stuff in the beds. A lot of our brassicas, a lot of our greens, a lot of cauliflowers, kales, things like that. They're coming along. Irrigation is always kind of a learning curve, so we're trying to decide like how much we should water, when to water, how much is too much. You know, all those factors. But I will say it is very nice. And as you can see, some of them are taken really nicely. I put a line of kohlrabi, and those are finally starting to come up also. So I'm going to have to thin those out. And I have, like, in that blue bucket, a bunch of stuff that I'm going to put into the bed. I think I was very generous with my spacing, but I know I can be able to put a little bit more in that bed. And I have a couple of patches of arugula as well as cilantro to be able to put in the bed. And I picked up some marigolds. Right now, and everything seems to be like really, really on. So I'm gonna gobble those up, especially since, you know, I'm struggling on growing marigolds in my greenhouse. We are going to give a little update on our asparagus beds. I am not sure if the asparagus bare roots that I planted originally, I can't tell if they are living or dead. So we're doing a little experiment. I did go to the nursery and saw that they had actual asparagus on sale, and I went ahead and planted that. It takes so long for asparagus to give you a viable crop that I did not want to wait like a whole year or the end of the season to realize that like those are not coming up. I did soak them. I did think that I saw like little green, like little buds coming up off of them, but ever since they've been in the actual ground, I haven't seen a lot of action. So I'm gonna kind of do half and half. So that'll be about like 6 asparagus that I put in the ground from the nursery, and we're going to keep like 6 crowns that I put in the ground from the bare root. But if I see that it's not really happening, I'm not gonna take the chance. I'm just gonna go out and buy some more asparagus. All right, let's go look at the other bed. So right now, this is in the evening, and it is absolutely glowing. This is my favorite time of the day. In these beds, this is how much sun they get on a regular basis. They get about close to 5 hours, not enough to be full sun. So one of the things that I've been doing is I do load this bed up with a lot of greens also. So the tatsoi and the onions and the cabbage, everything's looking okay. Nothing's really thriving though, which is kind of a little disappointing. I took the covers off of these cabbages to show because these are actually doing great. Like when I stick my hand like down to about like literally to about right here, it's nice and damp. It's, you know, really good. I'm not sure if I need to add more, you know, start feeding this on a regular basis, which I'm totally going to start doing. I'll definitely start that off tomorrow. So those are looking really good. Like the color, it's just like an iridescent, like the most beautiful purple. The spinach just never did anything, so I did another thing of spinach. I am going to come back in and start doing succession sowing for both like a lot of my lettuces. We do have a couple of little lettuces coming up, but the seedlings that I put in the ground, I don't know if I just didn't harden those off properly or if it was just too windy or just got too warm. They never really did anything spectacular. So yeah, there's going to be a plane. So there's going to be a little bit of shouting. We'll do our best to get all that stuff taken care of. We live in the suburbs in a neighborhood with a lot of kids who love our dogs and who, eat our blueberries, so sometimes that's just part of it. And I love it. Not everybody loves that kind of noise and just that kind of ruckedness, but it reminds me of the neighborhood that I grew up in, so I just roll with it. Let's go look at the pollinator garden. Right now we're hitting that spot where bugs are actually coming out, so we're gonna zip through a couple of things, but I can't wait to show you a couple of really fun things that have happened over here. We're still cleaning up this area. It's still like nothing's in the gray things. You see where I put the little squiggly things. I am loving the fact that this columbine is coming up and it actually looks like it's starting to have little stalks in there. The bee balm and the lilies are coming up. I've got to go through and pull out all the thistle. I think even over here I have a little lemon balm that's coming back in over there. So I just got to do a lot of heavy weeding. We've got a bunch of mulch that we're going to put down and kind of get this built up a little bit more so it's protected from weeds a little bit better. But I do want to show you what we did over at Lake Lois, which is my favorite part today. I cleaned her. Well, not a deep clean, but I definitely pulled out all the pine needles and gook out of there, and it makes such a difference. When you look at it, she's kind of clear. I added some water, and we ended up going through and getting a really nice planting for her. It's just violets and pansies and still, the primroses that we had before, but we put out the Buddha. That was a wedding gift from a friend, and there's just something about when the water lily blooms where it has like this beautiful white and yellow bloom with those big leaves. And sometimes I will have put a couple of like the lettuce plants that go into the pond, and it's just kind of filled, and it's just so serene. I pulled out the old pump and the old light and cleaned everything out. I just put all of that stuff that we dredged out of the pond around here for the bedding, because it's mostly pine needles that have been just yucked up. And so we're going to get a new pump in there. I don't want anything that's going to make super splashy or the bubbles or spit things up. We had that before, and it was very, if it gets, like, we get a lot of birds in the pond, so if they knock it over, it ends up shooting water out of the pond or with wind. So my plan is to get the back part there built up with enough rocks and then put the pump in the rocks so it just kind of waterfalls over the rocks. I think we can do it. We've got enough rocks and be able to just kind of have that movement, and then that way it's a little area for the birds. I do like putting the rocks on the side of it. Last year it was super sad because a baby bird drowned in there, and I felt like if I had had like a stick or some other stuff around there, that wouldn't have happened. I know, whatever. But that's what we're going to do for the pond. It'll still give us that water moving sound, so when you're back here and you're hearing the birds and you're hearing the water moving, but it won't be so splashy that you're just kind of like, sounds like there's, a pipe busted. Okay, so here at the baby pools, you see I have them all filled up still with a lot of the lettuces and the topsoys and greens that are too hot for the greenhouse. They're actually growing pretty great. These are all put on there because I was trying to come up with some way to do like a shade structure, because I don't want to get these too sunny. I've got some snow peas here that are getting ready to get planted up on some of the arches. And I've got a ton of comfrey. Look how much this comfrey has grown in 6 weeks. I told you it was going to take over this bed. At one time it was just dead leaves. And over here in the native plant garden, we're finally starting to get a couple of little buds and little seedlings kind of popping up there. So we might be able to see some really big growth probably within the next 2 weeks. And these are two more potato beds. These are red potatoes, and they're a little bit more of a plastic lined bed, but I'm kind of doing the same method as I'm going to do at the method that I have for the blue potatoes up by the mint garden. So yeah, this part is really neat. I do want to put something on this to kind of trellis. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have any more clematis. Chances are it'll just get filled up with morning glories, and I'm okay with that too. One. Okay, so now you're seeing once the rain hits and the sun hits, everybody's got weeds. We've been cleaning up a lot of the dandelions. I don't use any chemicals in our yard. I've got dogs, I eat our food. I have a lot of strong opinions about what some of those things may do to people long term, but that's not for this space to discuss it. But for me, we don't use any chemicals, and one, it's just one less thing that we have to buy. So, but what we do with our weeds is, I'm trying this year, is we are making what is basically a weed cocktail. And we have been taking our dandelions and taking our comfrey and just basically putting it in water, and it is turning into a fertilizer. And it is kind of a very balanced fertilizer that I give back to things growing in the greenhouse, as well as where I can feel really good about giving it to my plants. My main issue with some of the fertilizers is that I've used in the past is that I'm not great with directions, and sometimes I've been heavy-handed, and sometimes I've not. And so this is kind of a cheap way for me to keep giving like fertilizer to the plants to make them healthier and stronger in my garden for a better crop, without me having to burn out some of my vegetables, which is what I've done with fertilizers that I've purchased in the past. Now, I know that there's some really good ones. I use chicken poop and Fox Farm. I use some of those when I'm planting, but this one also I wanted to try this year because this was the first year that my comfrey and doing something with all the dandelions. Okay, so here is where the turnips are planted. They're finally doing something. I got to go back through, and I think I need to thin them out again. I overplanted in turnips, but I've got celery planted over here. I'm going to add a little bit more celery. I know that celery needs a lot of water, but I'd like to get about 6 things of celery over here. I love the smell of celery. Just as an herb, I like to have it in salads, but I really enjoy the greens themselves, like in burritos or, in wraps and stuff like that. In the blueberry chamomile bed, I was telling you before that we have had a lot of fennel coming up in there, and I've been slowly trying to dig out the fennel and the lemon balm and put that over there, and because we love free plants. So this is where we've been putting our fennel, and I've got like 6 little seedlings in here right now that look like they're finally kind of starting. I've been trying to pull up the whole root and bring that out into there. So that's pretty exciting. I've got some peas that I am going to put up on these that need to come out of the greenhouse. And probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to start filling up these beds big time. So that's also very exciting. So this was the one I was telling you that has all the radishes. You can see now that they're really starting to perk up. We probably got about 1 more week on them. I've got snow peas coming through here. I think that everything's been stalled a little bit because I have not been really figuring out the watering. Sometimes I'm thinking that they don't need water when they really do. It hasn't rained since we had that huge 2 weeks of rain. And so now everything's kind of drying out. And I guess I'm still in the mindset that it still rained a whole lot. But I got to probably water it. We watered it deep this morning. So I don't know if I need to start doing it every day for like 45 minutes or do it every other day. I really do want to train my beds to hold more water. So I am going to add a lot more organic material, some compost and hay or straw to it so they can hold the water a little bit better. Like right now they're kind of bare and naked, so they're not holding water the greatest, which I think is what's keeping everything from growing as well as it could. But I can't wait to have some things growing on all these arches. Over here, I've got ginger put in this pot, and I got the horseradish on the other side over here. And I think I'm going to put lavender over in this pot. I do because I feel like, one, I love the smell of lavender. Two, it starts to kind of transition to the whole part of where I've got a lot more of my herbs and things like that in the garden. Let's go look at the lilac tree and see if she's blooming. No, she's not blooming, but she is getting stronger every day. I'm seeing more buds on her. I'm even seeing buds on all the leaves, and she's still pushing up more growth. So hopefully it'll just be a beautiful show with the serviceberry and the apple tree and everything kind of coming to bloom at once, and then her beautiful smell. If we get the lavender and then lilac, oh, can you imagine? Okay, so this is an update on my 6-space planter that I got from Aldi's. I had put cardboard around there to make sure that it doesn't dry out as quickly and to hold the structure. And I turned it into an all mint bed, and I am in love with this idea and in love with this project. I did the mints that we have. Let me say we did a Kentucky Kernel, which is so minty. I have a berries and cream mint. I have a Thai mint, an orange mint, a chocolate mint, yummy, and a mojito mint. And you know what we're going to use that for. My main thing is to find every culinary use that I can use for this. I love teas, as I said before, like with the blueberries and the chamomile and a lot of the bee balm and lemongrass makes really nice teas and iced tea lemonades. So I'm thinking about doing that for us. In the back here, I have 3 potatoes. I've not ever had a whole bunch of success with potatoes, so that's why I don't have a bunch of them. I don't have enough to like harvest for the whole year and to be on that, total sustainability track. I am still learning how to grow potatoes efficiently. So I've had potato bags, and last year I had bought a ton of seed potatoes that I did not use all of them. And when I found them, they were the seediest of potatoes. Like they had eyeballs that were just more like legs. They were fully developed on the evolutionary scale. So I figured, why not plant them? So these are blue potatoes, and we're going to see how those go. I have the bags rolled down. I think I have 2 potatoes in each bag because they are small potatoes. So if I put 3 in there, they would be much smaller. I want to try to give them as much of a chance to become as big as they can. I actually put them at different levels so they would not be as competitive. And then and I'm making sure that I water them and fertilize them, which I had never done before. And so when the plants start popping up through there, when you start getting those, then I'm going to add another level of soil and roll it up. And that's just how we're going to mound onto those. So let me show you There's that big black bird. Let me show you the strawberry bed because that's some really exciting stuff. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we did over here. Like I said, nothing's ever in the same place twice. We're always cleaning and trying to make it work a little bit better. We have a neighbor getting ready to cut down a tree, so if it gets loud, I apologize. We'll do our best to kind of isolate the sound. We cleaned up the space a little bit more in the back. We brought over our old compost trash cans that I had created. We still have a lot of material in there, so I'm going to go ahead and we're turning it and we're going to use those in our garden beds, probably for the ones on this side before we plant anything. The bee balm, and I got some more lemon balm over here. It's looking great. I've got our first strawberry flower coming in, and when you look at the strawberry beds, you see how all of them are just shooting up. Now that we've been watering them a lot more consistently, and as well as we've been getting some really amazing weather. Like the weather's been, like we've been having like a stretch of like 70-degree days, which is crazy for April. It usually snows in April this time. I think it was snowing this time last year. So the fact that we're having, you know, barbecues and cookouts and, you know, fire pit nights is just, you know, I'm grateful for it. Over here by the honeysuckle, you can see where we're working on, this is part of the irrigation system, where we added one of those 4-hose splitter so we could be able to have that on the irrigation as well as be able to have it on the wand and be able to water all the beds at once, which to be able to just set it up and then go inside or go do something in the greenhouse and then just kind of put a timer on for 45 minutes so everything can get watered and then come back. Delicious. I love it. The honeysuckle's doing good. All the flowers around the serviceberry tree are doing nicely. The serviceberry tree only is in bloom for maybe a week. They do have berries on them. We never get any, the birds get them first. But they're supposed to be like a mix between a blueberry and a cherry. That's what I've heard. I never had one. Let's go look at some of the other beds. Okay, the Vigro bed. The main thing I wanted to show you is that the African violets are actually, the African daisies, I'm sorry, that were totally burnt out by the frost. Looks like there's a little bit of life left in them yet. So we're gonna keep them in the pots. I'm gonna cut them down, see if they can vigor out, or maybe I'll pull them out and put them in some other place where they can kind of recoup, kind of be an ICU. The irises, look at that. We're going to have a bloom very soon. All these irises usually bloom around Mother's Day. So this pot is going to be gorgeous. All this red garlic is popping up really nicely. I don't really have a lot of music garlic. I know I planted like 12 in here. I planted the same amount of red garlic as I did with music, thinking that like originally it was going to be 2 big sides of this visually, and then I would do some kind of planting here in the middle. But this is the second year that I've tried this garlic, and it still hasn't done a great job. And I do put it throughout all over the garden because I'm trying to figure out like where it grows best. But yeah, this to me was not a fan, not a fan at all. But I do still have a good amount of space that I'm going to plant in here. I know I was going to wait until the garlic kind of was taken out, but I think I am going to use this space. I am going to kind of around this trellis do some planting, either a lot of those greens that I have and maybe even do some of those snow peas. So we'll see. So you see what we're working with. We are going on to, what is it? This is week 7, I believe. First, I do want to bring this to your attention. I found this at a I think, a Dollar General, and I just thought how highly favored all the colors that I love to celebrate for bloom. You know, I never really get a chance to tell you that much about why it's called Just Keep Blooming. Just Keep Blooming is more about like resilience in the face of, you know, all your fears and troubles, and instead of just surviving, you like just learning how to thrive and just living your best life. And as I'm out here sitting and viewing my garden, listening to children laugh, listening to, you know, my dogs bark and birds chirping, I mean, it's just truly magical. So thank you for letting me share my garden with you, and I hope if you have inspirations, let me know. Tell your, you know, leave something in the comments about your garden journey, because this is mine. But my name is Carol. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming out, and take care and just keep blooming. Found that stay out of my water.